First story. I, 32M, have discovered fiancé, 29F, has continuously cheated in our relationship. Conflicted as to what should I do? I'm using a throwaway account for privacy reasons, but I've been a long-time Reddit user. This post might be lengthy, as I want to present a fair and clear picture of our relationship from my perspective. I'd greatly appreciate your opinions and feedback as we are at a critical juncture. I'm 32M, and my partner is 29F. We've been dating for 7 years and are scheduled to marry in September. I come from a relatively wealthy family and am running a fledgling business. My partner also hails from a well-off family and works a stable, low-demand job. While not wealthy, we live comfortably in our own home with a large yard and a dog we both adore. However, our relationship has significant challenges. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD and struggle with shallow emotions, avoidant behavior, and hyperindependence, likely due to my upbringing. I suspect I might have psychopathic tendencies due to my blunted emotions, but I am high-functioning and treat those close to me with kindness. Before this relationship, I had only one other serious relationship, which was shallow and lasted 2 years when I was 18. My partner was diagnosed with sociopathic tendencies as a teenager, and we suspect she has histrionic personality disorder. She is anxiously attached, fears being alone, has severe self-esteem issues, and compulsively lies due to past traumas and childhood experiences. Her past relationships, including a marriage that ended because her ex-husband was closeted, were toxic. We're both fairly attractive and don't have much trouble attracting attention from the opposite sex, though I avoid social media while my partner is active on it. Our relationship started with a strong connection. I knew early on that I wanted a life with her. We quickly became exclusive after dating for 4 months, even though I was already committed from the start. We were in a semi-long-distance relationship at first, living in different cities. We met weekly, alternating visits, and stayed in daily contact, expressing love consistently. We gave each other space and trust. I never checked her phone and respected her autonomy, though, in hindsight, I noticed some early red flags. Things went smoothly for about 1.5 years before I moved to her city, leaving behind my friends and family. This was entirely my choice, though she was willing to move for me if needed. During this time, we had no issues progressing our relationship, and I was happy and in love. I covered most of the expenses, including holidays, as I was earning significantly more, but I was content because we enjoyed our time together. After moving in together, I continued to cover most expenses, but she started contributing more. Moving in was generally smooth, though there were minor adjustments. Our relationship continued to progress well, and we both made friends in the new city. However, I noticed she became increasingly absorbed in social media, posting frequently about our holidays and dinners. Sometimes, she focused more on her social media than on me during our time together. She also posted revealing pictures, which I now see as a red flag, but at the time, I overlooked it. From late 2019 through 2020, things began to unravel. COVID had a significant impact on my professional life, and I went through a particularly tough time. I withdrew into myself, becoming cold and distant, which affected our relationship. While I was preoccupied with my own issues, my partner also withdrew, though she didn't make much effort to support me during this period. By early 2021, our relationship had become strained, with frequent fights. As things started improving for me, I tried to make up for the past year by buying her a bag she had wanted for her birthday in 2020. However, a lingering feeling of unease led me to check her computer while she was out, and I discovered she had been both emotionally and physically cheating on me throughout 2020. This revelation devastated me, but she begged me to stay, apologizing profusely. I confronted her, and during our argument, she immediately deleted her Instagram and other message threads without my consent. raising suspicions about the extent of her cheating. She admitted to some of it but consistently lied about the details, leading to months of fights where I continued to uncover more instances of her infidelity. She has a history of only admitting to things when there is evidence. In summary, her cheating was extensive, spanning our entire 3 years together. Much of the evidence has been deleted, so I can't confirm the full extent, though I suspect there's more she hasn't admitted to. My gut feeling tells me I still don't know the whole truth. After we met, she continued to sleep with 2 guys, Guy 1 and Guy 2, she had previously been involved with. This occurred just before we became exclusive and while we were still dating. Around 3 months after we became exclusive, she slept with a guy, Guy 3, she met online. Despite not knowing him well, she decided to meet him for lunch and ended up sleeping with him. She covered this up and only admitted it recently. She consistently communicated with strangers online, proposing and agreeing to meet up with them. While she claims nothing physical happened, her history of lying makes me doubt her honesty. This behavior occurred multiple times throughout our relationship. In 2019, before I moved to her city, she met up with some guys she used to see, claiming nothing physical happened. Also in 2019, her cheating escalated. She had a booty call with Guy 1, someone she had been involved with in the past. She met up with and slept with another guy, Guy 4, multiple times in early 2019, right before I moved. She even attended a rave with him and took drugs. She continued meeting up with him after I moved, which was particularly hurtful. One night, she got drunk and slept with an ex-co-worker, Guy 5, with whom she had been consistently communicating throughout 2018 and 2019. She claimed this was a one-time event and covered it up, only admitting it recently. In 2019, after I bought her a new sports car for her birthday, she immediately contacted Guy 1 and slept with him. She continued communicating with him about meeting up again, though she claims nothing else happened, but she deleted most of the evidence. Before I moved, she slept with a guy friend, Guy 6, who was also liked by her best friend. I later met this friend and we got along, which now makes me feel foolish. While Guy 6 didn't tell me about their encounter, he later distanced himself from her out of respect for me, or so she says. Throughout 2020, a guy, Guy 7, she met on Facebook blatantly expressed his interest in sleeping with her. She agreed and drove to his house to cheat on me multiple times. She didn't hide her infidelity, agreeing to keep it private at his request. She also emotionally cheated, expressing things like "can't wait to see you" and "I miss you." She did this while I was under immense stress, which made it particularly hurtful. I have the most evidence of this incident as it's the most recent, though I'm unsure if they actually met up in 2021. Despite him continuing to message her. Throughout our relationship, she communicated with countless guys on social media, too many for her to recall accurately, according to her. She sent one nude to Guy 7 and other risky pictures to different guys. Again, I don't know the full extent of this behavior. This pattern of deception and trickle-truthing persisted, with her lying about everything even up until today. She deleted most of the evidence, so I can only rely on her word, though I suspect there's much more I haven't uncovered. So, why didn't I leave her after discovering all this? The main reason is that I loved her, and I believed everyone deserves a second chance. I also felt that I contributed to what happened. While she was clearly in the wrong, I thought she deserved another opportunity. Her reasons for cheating were as follows. A need for attention, validation, and low self-esteem. Insecurity about my past, lifestyle, and female friends, leading her to perceive me as a womanizer. Suspicion that I was cheating on her, which fueled her actions out of spite, despite finding no evidence. Fear of the intensity of her feelings for me. Seeking comfort and control by turning to other men, feeling like she didn't have the upper hand with me. fear of codependence, worrying I might leave her at any time, which I may have inadvertently reinforced during fights, a lack of security in our relationship, for which I take responsibility. While I didn't cheat or intend to, I continued talking platonically to female friends who might have had an interest in me, and I failed to provide her with the reassurance she needed. After discovering her cheating, I committed to fixing the relationship by stopping outings, cutting off all female friends, and trying to show more emotions. I proposed to her because she wanted that security. We bought a house and moved in together full-time. However, I realize there are some things I can't change to make her feel completely secure. Recently, I discovered she's reverting to her old ways, actively deleting evidence of her actions. After staying off social media for a year, she went back on, promising to keep it private but later making it public and messaging guys to meet up. With her deleting messages, I don't know the full extent of her actions this time. We're due to be married in 2 months, and we just returned from a holiday paid for by my parents, yet she's still messaging other guys online. I'm now calling off the engagement, but I find myself conflicted and swayed by my feelings. I don't have clarity on the situation, so I would really appreciate your thoughts and feedback on what's happening. I'm really conflicted. I understand how stupid this may be and the answer should be obvious, but I think my judgment is severely clouded at this point and would like some feedback on what actions I should take. Engaged for 7 years, I recently discovered my fiancé has been cheating on me with multiple guys throughout our relationship. Despite giving her a second chance and making significant changes to improve our relationship, she's reverted to her old ways, actively deleting evidence and messaging other men. With our wedding 2 months away, I'm conflicted and considering calling off the engagement, seeking advice on what to do. Second story. D-Day number 2, I guess? A few years ago, my 39M wife, 41F, had what I would consider an emotional affair with a co-worker. I found a text chain on a secret app she had muted. She never really talked about him, so it was surprising to see that they text for hours every day and had for months. This coincided with months of her withdrawing from typical routines in our marriage, e.g., talking about our days, eating together, watching TV together, going to bed at the same time, and cuddling. To be clear, the texts that I saw weren't explicit in nature, but things that, based on our experience, were traditionally unique to us, like stuff with the kids or things she was dealing with at the time, family, work, personal. After finding these texts, she said they were just friends. I didn't believe it and I found evidence that she had been to his place and lied about. I still don't know what happened there. But, when your wife goes to a dude's house at night, who she has been talking to incessantly for months, well, we went to counseling. She agreed to stop talking to him. Lead. Kept talking to him. Got caught. Decided that she didn't need to stop talking to him because a married woman staying up into the early hours of the morning, texting a mate coworker was typical friendship. We agreed to end our marriage, but based on where we live, we couldn't file for divorce until one of us moved out and we were separate for a period of time. And we couldn't move out until we agreed on who would move out and what the custody arrangement would be with our 4 kids. We never agreed. So, for the last few years we have lived in the same house and hate each other. I'm doing bad mentally, but through counseling and good friends, I'm steadily improving. Genuinely, I am over her and just ready for this to be done. The law has changed and my lawyer is working on filing in the immediate future. And then this weekend, an old friend I had lost touch with reached out to me. Let's call him Manny. I talked to him for a while and it was good to catch up. I told him about what was going on in my life, the good and the bad, see above, and he told me about his life. The next day he tells me to call him. Manny and I had a mutual friend, let's call him Dave. Dave was this Manny's best friend, and for a while was my best work friend until he moved jobs and we kinda lost touch. Dave had slept with my wife while my wife and I were in counseling. Apparently, Dave had reached out to Manny a couple years ago to get it off his chest. So Manny sent me the texts from Dave and he basically described how it happened. Now, I feel super betrayed. It's compounded by how my marriage is portrayed. My wife has told my kids, and her family has too, that our marriage ended because I fabricated an affair with a coworker. And for years, I have had friends and people that matter to me believe that it was true. I made up the affair. She lied about the details of what had happened because obviously they are ambiguous at best. I never had proof that they were intimate or explicit, so it was he said she said. And a lot of people believed what she said. In the last few months, I have obtained evidence that she is still with coworker. She slept at his place when she told our kids she was somewhere else, and now have evidence that she cheated on me with Dave too. I was finally getting to a point where I was healthily moving on, and now it feels like a complete reset and I am furious again. Sorry this was long. Rant over. That's the plan. It's just been rough and sometimes life beats you down. I've never really second-guessed my decision since leaving is considered abandonment where I live. Even for the purpose of getting a divorce, but damn life just puts too much on you sometimes. Luckily I can sleep with how I've been as a parent. And while that's not nearly enough and I'm ready to finish this, it's something. However, to move out we need a custody agreement. The options I had were to move out without one, be guilty of abandonment, and not see my kids at all while I get roasted in the custody battle. Move out with the agreement that I was voluntarily giving up my kids, no abandonment, and not see them until the divorce was finalized and a court-ordered custody, or stay and wait for the law to change but get to see my kids. I chose number 3. It sucked, but I stand by it. Now, the law changed here on July 1st, and I have hired a lawyer and the papers will be filed, hopefully by the end of this week. In the legal documents, I've confronted her in the past, even with hard evidence of stuff she was doing. But she is so shitty then she dragged me down to her level and beat me with experience. It also didn't make me feel any better. I'm just trying to focus on moving onward and upward. It was certainly a surprise when it first happened. For years I would have bet my life she wouldn't do something like this. But we had ups and downs like any marriage and I'm assuming the affair fog took hold. Where it became the biggest surprise and where the marriage truly fell apart is how she responded to it. Even in counseling, I was very clear. Call it what you want, an EA, not an EA. This relationship you have with this dude is infringing on our relationship. And she looked me dead in the eyes and said it wasn't a problem. When I realized we were living in two different realities, it became impossible to save the marriage. Third story. I, 38M, have gotten into a tricky situation with my wife, 32F, and a co-worker, 28F. Been married to my wife since 2017. We have 2 kids, age 2 and 5. The short of it is, we've been on a break since she was pregnant with the youngest. We haven't had sex since he was conceived. We don't go on date nights. Our communication sucks. Wife has always been the one who called for breaks and this was not the first one. During this time, I've never gone seeking anything else out. I met my coworker in a different part of the company, remote, in another state, and IDK what happened but I was instantly so drawn to her in every single way. We talked every day, got to know each other, eventually that became flirty to sexual to sweet and deep. She made me realize all that has been missing from my life for so long and so many years. I started planning a visit to meet her in person. And all of a sudden my oldest started having nightmares about us getting divorced. I know. WTF that forced us to talk about things real fast and serious. And we decided for the sake of the kids to give it one last shot for a few months. I also found out during this time of our break my wife kissed 2 different guys. As far as the things laid out, her to communicate calmer, her to show me she gives a shit about me. Things have really improved and I've seen the obvious difference. I always wanted a happy family and this is the closest it's ever felt. but I am so frustrated that it took me telling her about this other person, and my oldest to have nightmares for her to give a fuck. Our attempts to work on our issues before never stuck, and this time it seemed so instant and easy that it makes me question the genuineness. And at the same time as all this, I'm still worrying I'm missing out and wondering what if with my coworker. I want my kids to grow up with a normal family dynamic, and I want that too. But I just honestly don't know what to do, and I feel sick about it. BC, I know no matter what, someone is going to get hurt from the outcome of this situation. We only have a few weeks left in our trial timeline. How do I know if this is real, or if I should just cut my loss and leave to find better? Not sure if I can trust my wife's efforts to fix our relationship, and if I should stay or go. I know several people have said the same as far as not staying for the kids. That's a big part of it for me still, and TBH, I don't want to leave the kids. But I'm so caught up in the frustration of why this took such a dramatic event to get through to her after years. And for the record, my oldest started having nightmares. BC, their friends' parents are splitting, so started having dreams about the same for us. We tried to fix our issues so many times in the past, and eventually things always lapsed back to these old ways, until she asked for a break. Rinse and repeat every few months to couple of years. On this break, we essentially had a don't ask, don't tell policy. But I never went out with anyone or sought out a relationship or hookup. This whole thing came out of nowhere for me. I don't mean to paint this on my wife as a terrible person. We just are fundamentally very different, even though we co-parent so well together and are good friends. It just has been odd and not satisfying for anyone for a while now. I appreciate your bluntness, I really do. I have never sought out any other relationships or gratifications during any of our breaks. This was a random one-off meeting, and something happened that I was not prepared for or looking for, ever. We tried to fix our issues so many times before, but every time it would lapse to old patterns, and we would go back to not talking about it, until she eventually asked for a break. Not painting her as a bad person. We just are very different, but I struggle with the genuineness. BC, if it was this easy to flip a switch, why didn't it happen any of the last several times spanning several years? Fourth story. My girlfriend secretly talking to ex-affair partner from previous marriage. My 41M girlfriend, 41F, have been seeing each other for about a year and a half. She's separated, as multiple affairs that she had on him ultimately destroyed her marriage. A few months back, she told me about one of them, told me his name, and I happened to remember it as it's a generic name, easy to remember. Earlier this week, we were making dinner together, and she put her phone down pretty close to me, with the recent calls list open. It was close enough that when I looked down to the food I was preparing, his name jumped out at me instantly. She had talked to him pretty recently over the phone. I should add, she accused me of snooping through her phone, which I never have. All I had done was look down at it. I asked her, kind of incredulously mind you, if she was still talking to him, and she admitted yes, but she wasn't going to tell me. Months ago, when we first talked about it, she told me she had no contact with him and really wanted nothing to do with him. He apparently reached out over social media, and they started talking again. Ex-affair partner is married. She essentially told me that she was going to keep talking to him. They were just friends, and she wasn't going to feel bad about it. She told me she's never cheated on me, and has no plans to. I got over it pretty quick, and told her that was fine, as that's how I felt I was supposed to feel at the time. Her ex-husband was apparently very controlling, and would police her, and didn't like her hanging out with guy friends. While having guy friends is fine, part of me wonders if her ex-husband wasn't suspicious and untrusting for good reasons. She obviously was having affairs on him, so in my mind, it's a chicken-egg sort of situation. She's told me many times that she doesn't tolerate jealousy, due to how her ex-husband allegedly acted with her. After I had time to process it, I started feeling pretty uneasy about things. I was betrayed in a past relationship, and it pretty much broke me at the time, but I stayed, have told her straight up. While I'm fine with guy friends, etc., any sort of betrayal would be a one and done. I would walk away, as I vowed to myself never to stay in a relationship again where this happens. Part of me feels like my initial feelings being fine with it is reasonable. The other part of me is seeing red flags and worries that she's just continuing patterns and won't stop. I don't know how to feel. We have a very loving relationship, we communicate well, otherwise, we adore each other. My gut is telling me to run like hell. I want to be with her, but really don't want to be her next relationship destroyed by affairs. Am I being reasonable by having serious doubts about this? Should I just be okay with it as she's told me that's how I should feel? Are these red flags? Past betrayal trauma is awful, and it seriously screwed up my compass for gauging these situations reasonably. Fifth story. I think my fiancé of 9 years might be cheating. I, 33M, think my fiancé 32F is cheating. I could really use some advice. My fiancée, not her real name, have been together for 9 years, high school sweethearts. We are each other's first everything. We share many hobbies, and are both actively involved in our community and church. We have a healthy sex life. We both supported each other's in our career journey. We both do our best to be lively, spontaneous, open and honest. As cliché as it may sound, we are best friends. And I can see myself spending the rest of my life with her. But for the past few months now, something has changed. Lately, though, I've noticed a few things that raised some red flags. Her sexual appetite has increased, which alone shouldn't be a concern, but combined with other changes, it's making me uneasy. She's been dressing a little provocative, away from the modest woman I know her to be. At times, she seems distant. She's on her phone a lot when we are together. She would leave to another room for a period of time. She's bought lingerie a few months back and I've yet to see her wear them. We both have each other passcodes, passwords, and shared locations. But I noticed last week she changed the passcode on her phone. I don't go through her phone like that and thought it was weird that she would change her passcode. And before you asked why I tried to check her phone, last week I came home early and heard her playing with herself. She was moaning a name and it wasn't mine's. I had to walk away after that to collect my thoughts. The biggest concern is that I found a cell phone hidden in our basement. It's not mine, and no one else lives with us. So why was there a phone down there? The phone looks fairly new but hasn't been activated yet. I haven't brought this up to her yet because I don't know how to approach it. Before anyone asks, it's not a gift of any kind. It looks used. I'm thinking it might be burner. I guess what I'm asking is for some advice on how to handle the situation. What should I do? How should I approach her about the phone? What other signs should I look for to see if she's cheating? Thanks in advance for your help. Sixth story. Neighbor cheating on his GF with men while she's at work. So my new neighbor moved in across from me recently over the summer. She's really sweet. Looks young, in her mid-20s maybe. She was there a month or so before her BF moved in. He looks like he's maybe late 20s. As soon as he came her energy changed. She didn't look as bright as she usually does. She's usually really friendly and her face has a glow. Now she looks sad. Well, a few weeks of him being there I saw him sneak a man in her home while she was at work. He doesn't work. I see him often outside on his phone or listening to music with headphones. He blocked her Ring camera with his body so she can't see who's coming in or out. Maybe he forgot I also have a Ring camera. Today while she's at work, I saw him sneak another man in and again, he blocked her Ring camera with his body. Then signaled for the other man to come in. Each time he has a different man come over. Then he's overly affectionate with her outside so we all can see them. And usually does something weird talking to my camera. It feels like a warning to be quiet. Please also let me say that I most definitely wasn't trying to see this. I only checked my camera because my notification kept going off. And also, this isn't a homophobic issue as I am pansexual, but I am open and honest, especially with sexual partners. Just trying to address some things I feel PPL might comment. But the problem is that I want to tell her, but I am unsure of how he will react. She seems to be afraid of him. I say that because when they have issues, the whole building knows. And recently, I had to go over and her to ask him to stop slamming their door hard enough to shake the wall in my apartment. The look on her face looked like she was terrified of saying anything to him. I don't want it to get her hurt. I've decided to mind business unless something happens over there. But what would you do? Would you tell her? This secret is on my mind heavy. I feel so bad for her. Also, I'd post the video, but her apartment number is very clear on her door, and I don't want her safety to be more at risk.